What does success mean to you? When it comes to your investing journey, how do you actually track success? And how do I track success in my property journey and my life in general? I think it's important for us to take an account of where we are right now and how blessed we are. I had knee surgery a few weeks ago, and I realized when I had knee surgery how debilitating, life can be. And I've had a tough few years, losing my wife to cancer last year and having my own health complications with alopecia. And so those life experiences have taught me a lot about what I really value in this life. And so I want to talk through your property and your investing and your journey around wealth and creation, because it's a big part of your life. You go to work for 30, 40, 50 hours a week to make your income and to work hard and then to go on holidays. And there's so many bills and expenses. I know all about direct debits coming, that come off the credit card, and that electricity bills just come through. That rates bill, the rates are terrible up here in Queensland, but I wanted to essentially sit down with you and talk about how I value things in my journey. And it's not just monetary related, but accessing financial freedom can happen a lot earlier than you might think. And how does that actually work? If, I'm someone that's got a $10 million property portfolio, of course, he's talking about financial freedom, but how does this work specifically for you? And so do you need 5, 10 houses, or can you do this with actually 2 to 3 properties? Now, we work with lots of clients. I've worked with hundreds of clients to buy properties here in Southeast Queensland, and it's been a real blessing to grow this business. And the reason I got into property investing in the first place was about creating choices. It was not about being filthy rich, about having, $10 million home or very fancy cars. It was about creating time and space for myself and my late wife, Emily, and our 2 beautiful boys, Asa and Eli, about creating space for us to do what we wanted in terms of work hours, to be able to attend those school events when the kids were of a certain age, to be able to take Fridays off or have a month off over Christmas or go on a European holiday. And so that was the goal of creating financial wealth. But I don't measure my success just in the dollars in my bank account. I actually look at my life holistically. I look at my finances. I look at, most importantly, my faith in Jesus and where my heart is at in terms of my relationship with God. I look at my family. I look at my friends. I look at my football. And so that's my ring or my circle of influence as to how I measure my success. Finances, faith, family, friends, football would be all the main ones on that list. And so a great life for me is not one that's full of finances, but lacks in the family department or lacks in playing my sport and being healthy. You probably think this as well. I used to look at those businessmen who would sit in business class and be rude to people and, to be honest with you, would be very overweight and not healthy, and they were unhappy. They had all this money. They were running these successful businesses, but they weren't fulfilled. And so if you had my asset base, would you feel fulfilled? And most people say, yeah, I want to try it. I want to try being rich. Give me $3-5 million and I'll let you know how I feel after I've got that money. But the reality is you may reach a certain amount of wealth and your life might not change. You might not feel any different or any better because you still need purpose in your life. I've created financial freedom these last few years through the hard work, the sweat, the renovations, the building of a property portfolio, the growing of my business in Purpose Property. But the heart of this business is Purpose Property. What is the purpose of this asset, this property purchase, whether it's your own home? That's to enjoy it if you're buying your own home. And so I say to our owner-occupied clients, buy the home that's going to make you enjoy that space. You can spend a little bit more on your owner-occupied residence. I certainly did that with Emily on our dream home. We definitely overspent in some areas, but it was for us. It's for our enjoyment. Money doesn't have to always be about reaching that financial target. And I've certainly been culpable of that in always pushing to create more money or create more wealth. You can just enjoy the money and the wealth that you've created and spend it on things that bring you happiness. But a lot of people do too much of that. And so on the flip side, can we invest for a future? Again, it comes back to the purpose. Why are you wanting to invest for a future? Is it so you can work 30 hours a week? Is it so that you can have 8 weeks of holidays a year? Is it so that you have flexibility? For me, the big thing for me was being my own. I wanted to be a business owner. I didn't like the idea of having a boss who could call me and say, hey, I need you to do this or do that. I wanted to call the shots in my own business. And thankfully, I've got wonderful staff. We've got 7 staff in the business at Purpose Property who are happy for me to give them directions and for me to manage and lead them well. And that's what I'm trying to do as a business owner. I'm trying to lead well. And so let's get down to the nitty-gritty of what you might realistically need to create these financial choices and create a holistic view of success. Honestly, you probably only need 2 to 4 houses. And if you can get sites in particular which have upside potential, whether that's renovations or granny flats, you don't necessarily need to realize that immediately. Say you buy a 700 square meter block, which has drivable side access and space in the rear yard. And you buy that property for $800,000 and it's a 90s build, it's a bit dated, it's a bit run down, but that asset has value add potential, so you could do a full renovation in 10 years' time, but it's currently great and functional. And you could potentially add a granny flat to that deal if you wanted to hold that asset in your asset base for the long term. Now, you see these guys online, I won't name names, but they have a blue chip strategy or buy regional cheap markets only. It seems to be to the extremes. How about we simplify things? Most everyday Australians aren't going to end up with a 10 plus property portfolio. Let's be honest with each other. And so I want to help the everyday Australian, the everyday family, create more choices in their life, build others up, be good stewards of their wealth, and help people through that process. People have a depiction of landlords as being evil people, but they're investing in assets. They're dealing with the headaches of council and rates and maintenance and management and creating a space for rental supply. If we didn't have any landlords in the suburb I'm in, Greenslopes, for example, there would be nowhere to rent. And so it would be full of owner-occupiers, and anyone who wanted to rent, who didn't want to put down a huge deposit and buy for millions of dollars in this location, they'd have to move somewhere else. And so there is a space where we do need landlords and property owners in Australia. And I don't really like the term landlord. I much prefer the term steward. And that's the way I view my life and my business, is all about good stewardship. And so in your own specific circumstances, you probably need 2 to 4 houses with that upside potential. And let's say you buy 4 houses and you sell one of those and you build secondary dwellings on those other properties. Roughly, you're going to get about $25,000 rent for the front house and $25,000 rent for the new dwelling out the back, which means if you do that 3 times, you're getting $150,000 of gross rental income. Now, you're probably going to lose about $30,000 to $40,000 a year to rates, land taxes, council fees, management, maintenance, and all those things. There's always costs, even if you're debt-free. And the other $110,000 will you'll probably be negative geared until you get those granny flat builds done. But you'll be in a position where the properties at that point, once you build secondary dwellings, are largely paying for themselves. And so the whole idea of this simplified strategy is to buy 2 to 4 properties with upside potential, sell 1 or 2 of those assets to give yourself cash, use that cash to add value to these remaining sites, and then continue making new choices in your day-to-day life. I look at my personal circumstances and I want to be shredded. I want to be healthy. I want to be fit. And so when I don't have a broken leg, which I've got at the moment after having knee surgery recently, and I'm fit and healthy, I want to do that for my partner. Like, obviously, being fit and healthy makes you more attractive. And so that's great. But it's not more about the aesthetic part. It's about the health part for me. And I want to be able to run around with my kids in the backyard. And I want to be able to hike up mountains and go rock climbing and adventure with my family and friends. And so I need a fit and healthy body to do that. So I will spend my time and my money on investing in my health. I bought a walking treadmill. You can't see it. It's hiding down here. That was $160. And it means I can get in an extra 1 to 2Ks a day just going for a casual walk while I've got the standing desk here. And so when my kids are asleep at night and I can do the extra K or 2, that improves my health. It gives me clarity. And the reason I need a walking treadmill is I can't go out for a stroll around the suburbs at night when both of my babies are asleep. My boys are only 3 and 1 years old. And unfortunately, Emily is no longer with us. She's in heaven after passing, unfortunately, in December 2024. And so losing Emily has taught me a lot about this life and a lot about not delaying for a greater future. It's hard to talk about, but her impact on my life is so significant. We were married for 8.5 years and together 11 years. And we didn't regret the journey. We didn't regret making good decisions that were holistic and not just money focused. And so, part of the reasons I want to continue to grow the property portfolio is I get to impact more people. If you're watching this far through this video, I get to impact you, how you think about this investing journey, and that it's not just about the money, it's about the choices to be healthy and fit and have time with your family and go on those holidays and knock back some time at work. And you can do that once you secure the right assets. And so there are seasons, let's be honest, there were seasons in my life the last decade. I especially think about that 2020, 2021 season where I was renovating in the trenches, working hard in my day job and adding value to get the snowball effect in my property portfolio. But once you secure those 1, 2, 3, 4 assets, then you can take your foot off the gas. Then you can focus more on maybe getting a cleaner, maybe, getting healthy meals delivered because it's going to improve your lifestyle and spending more money in those areas. And you should probably be doing those things sooner rather than later. I say to people, one of the biggest things that's changed my life is having a home gym. Now, I only got the home gym a few months before Emily passed last year, but it was monumental to my stress levels to have a sauna and to have a squat rack and an exercise bike all in a garage space. And really, you could spend $3,000-$5,000 and get enough of gym equipment and have it in your own home space. And it could honestly change your life because it removes the excuses. And that's what I'm trying to do in this video. I'm trying to remove the excuses for you to say it's all too hard to start this property investing journey and to create more choices in your life. It's still possible to do this in today's environment. Don't have price memory of where prices were 5 years ago or 10 years ago. Think about that the government's going to reduce fiat currency and have inflation in our economy over the next 1, 3, 5, 7 years. And therefore, look at the trajectory of where the property market is going if you're looking to invest in property. Now, the reason I'm so heavy on property investment and not other asset classes is I understand property. I understand it's a leveraged asset that's physical, that I can touch. I can understand how the market dynamics work, and I have an edge. I can find value opportunities which other people might not necessarily spot the value like I can see it. And so every single property, this might surprise you, every single property that I've ever bought has actually been on market. I've never bought for myself an off-market property deal. And the reason is for Emily and I, and even myself this year buying 2 more properties in Ipswich, I understood, using those Ipswich properties as examples, understood that I needed to buy the right property for the right price in the right location, specific to my circumstances. And the on-market deals were the right deals for me at that time. They had using the Ipswich deals as the example, I bought 1,000 square meter plus blocks, essentially walking distance to a train station, flood free. These were raised up on a hill, development upside potential to build a 4-bed, 2-bath dwelling in the backyard. And so look at your own situation and look at what your very next step is. Can you get a home gym to improve your fitness? Can you start going to church on Sundays to build your faith with God? Can you spend more time with your kids? Instead of staying at work till 5:30, can you start picking them up at 4 p.m.? Is it really going to make or break your career if you start picking your kids up at 4 rather than 5:30? And so I know by losing Emily that what matters in life is not more money in the bank account. I've said it plenty of times, but if I could give all the money away to spend more time with Emily, I would do that. You can create more wealth. You can help more people, and that's how you essentially run a business. A business should be there to help people. But don't neglect your life just to create a dollar figure, just to create a financial outcome. Work on getting these assets to then give you more choices and actually make those better choices. Eat a little bit healthier, go to church, love your family, love on your friends, run a business, hopefully like what I'm trying to do, run a business where you help people, or in your day job, make sure you're helping people. But you can take your foot off the gas pedal once you secure those assets. And so there are going to be seasons where it is really hard, and there are going to be seasons where you can ease off. And so I want to encourage you in this journey. A lot of these guys out there will only focus on the money. They'll only focus, buyers agents, mortgage brokers, they'll only focus on the dollar figure. For me, it's not just about a dollar figure, it's about that holistic view. So thanks for sticking with me through this video. If you are a long-time follower of the channel, make sure you subscribe down below, drop a like on this video, and if you do want help buying property in Southeast Queensland, that is exactly what myself and the team do. So head over to purposeproperty.com.au for that. And yeah, if you're looking for a mortgage broker anywhere in Australia to buy property, you can also go to purposeproperty.com.au and work with our recommended mortgage brokers there too. I'd love to hear your thoughts about these choices and about the life that we're living in the comments below, because this is a community. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Peace.